Hi, my name is Sandra Bartra, and my company name is LifeLink Consulting, LLC. I hope you'll find this presentation educational and informative. I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not an estate lawyer. You should always talk to the professionals that you work with if you have questions. Now, I'm going to talk to you about something that I call a life transition binder. Now, it is truly a binder, but you can, of course, create an electronic version. Now, a life transition binder pulls together important details from all areas of your life. The information that I like to include in them includes personal information, property details, financial information, investments, insurance details, your medical information, and also the service providers. That's all the people that you pay bills to. Now, if you're interested in receiving a handout, please email me. You can reach me at lifelinkconsulting@llc@gmail.com. Again, that's lifelinkconsulting@llc@gmail.com. Now, I am going to tell you that I believe putting a binder together like this is truly a gift. It is a gift for you and for your loved ones, and it is something that will bring you peace of mind. Now, I believe that this binder actually fills three different roles. It's for you as you age, because let's face it, we do forget information. A lot of us actually have gone paperless, so we don't even have the documentation now to remind us of what we have and where it is. So again, it's for you while you age. The next role that this binder serves is it's for a health event. What if? So what if you had an accident, you needed surgery, and then you had rehab, and it takes you a little bit longer to get back on your feet. Now, if you need your family to step in and to assist you, then they're going to need access to your information in order to do this. If you happen to slip and hit your head and get a concussion, again, if your family needs to step in to help you, they need to have access to your details. Now, the third role of the binder is for your end of life. So it truly is there for you or for them after you pass away. It will allow them to settle your estate because it has all the details in there about what you have and where it is. Now, this is something that we should all do. We should all put it together. And most of us know that we should do this, but it is something that we can postpone. It is also something that is quite overwhelming to create. So a lot of people start it, but don't complete it. Now, I work with clients in a number of different ways to put these life transition binders together. I also do sell my electronic file, and I do sell the binders. So if you're interested in learning how you and I can work together, just reach out to me. Again, my email is lifelinkconsulting@llc@gmail.com. Now, I'm going to tell you why I started doing this, because I hope you can learn from my experience. I started initially 12 years ago. My parents lived in Florida and I live in Massachusetts, and my father was sick. Now, when my family came to the US about 40 years ago, my father had a pre-existing health condition, and so he couldn't get health insurance. And so as a result, he had a number of different health issues that were happening all at once. And it also resulted in the doctors not being able to determine quickly what was wrong with him. So it took quite a bit of time before they figured out what was happening. But my father and we realized that his health was declining rapidly. So he and I put together one of these binders. Now, I have to say that my father had always taken care of the finances and all the information, all the bill payment. And so my mum really wasn't comfortable with it, and she was quite overwhelmed by it. So my father and I put together one of these binders with all the information organized and nicely broken out into the different sections. And he had a copy and I had a copy. Now, there were times when my father would say, I feel great and I can take care of everything. And he did. But there were also times when he would call me and say, I don't trust myself to make a decision. Please, can you help? Now, because I had a copy of the binders, we had one for each of them because their information was different. I was able to step in seamlessly and take care of things. I could pay their bills, I could reach out to doctors, and I could assist them as they needed help. Now, when my father received his diagnosis and it was terminal, I then took over all bill payment and assisted them so that they could focus on his health. Now, at that point, every month, I would go to Florida for 1 week so that I could help my mum, who was the caregiver, and I could also step in and just be present with my father. And it was the most precious time I could have had because we didn't have to worry about what they had or where it was because we knew all those details. Now, when my father passed away 9 months later, we could also focus on being there for each other because we had all the details that we needed to settle his estate. Now, I didn't give it a second thought. I figured this is what everyone does because they really should. But it wasn't until 8 years ago when my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer that it made me realize that you're never too young to organize your information and put together a resource like this. Now, we did not have one because we were in our late 40s and we didn't see the need to do it. And so it was at that point that I realized people needed guidance, perhaps, and they needed to be reminded that organizing this information is really important for not only themselves, but for their loved ones. And so I urge you not to put it off and postpone it, but to create your life transition binder, your resource for both you and for your loved ones. Now, I'm going to review the kinds of information that I like to include in these binders. And again, if you would like to receive a handout, I would be happy to send you one. It's just a summary of the kinds of information that I like to include in these different sections. Now, I will say, when you create your resource, you are going to need to update it, and you're going to need to keep it securely and in a very safe place. Obviously, you are going to keep it for yourself because it's for you as you age, but you should also tell your loved ones where they can find it. So if there is an emergency, they know where to get it. Anyway, let's talk about the different sections in the binder. So in the personal section of the binder, I like to include information that's specific to you and your family. So obviously, basic details, your name, your date of birth, if you're married or not, if you have children, your close family details, if you've got siblings. And then I like to also list other information that's very unique to you. Details about your driver's license, your passport information. If you're a veteran, you have a service number and you should list those details. So again, anything that's unique to you. I also like to include information about end of life. So what are your end of life details? Have you prepaid for any of those? Like your funeral expenses or a cemetery plot, your monument, any of those details, have you prepaid for them? So I like to record that information. In addition to that, I also like to look at specifically passwords to technology. When we have to step in and assist a loved ones, it's really important that you can access their phone or their computer. A lot of us now have two-step authentication, and so it's critical to be able to access them. So anyway, that just gives you a real highlight of the information that's included in that section, okay? So then I like to look at the property details, and in the property details, it really just looks at tangible property. So the different kinds of tangible property that I like to look at includes if you own a home or if you rent a home or an apartment. It looks at whether you have a mortgage, if you have a home equity line of credit. It looks at if you have a vehicle, and if you have a vehicle, if in fact it is leased or financed. I look at timeshare details, if you have a safe deposit box, or if you have a trailer, if you actually have a business or part ownership in a business, that also needs to be listed. And then I also like to look at if you have personal, your personal belongings. It's really important to list any personal belongings that have value, and also to look at personal belongings that have sentimental value to your loved ones. So you would list what they are and who they should go to. Now that just gives you an idea, excuse me, of the kinds of information that go into the property section. Now the next section is the financial information. That looks at, first of all, the professionals that you work with, an accountant, an estate lawyer, perhaps a financial advisor, and it also lists the kinds of legal documents that you have. So specifically, it would look at, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have a healthcare proxy, a power of attorney? And for each of those documents, it records information about who the people are that you've selected. So your agents who you've selected to work for you in some capacity. So if you have a healthcare proxy, you have selected a primary and an alternate proxy who will make medical decisions for you. Those individuals are called your agents. If you have a power of attorney, you would have a primary and backup power of attorney. And anyway, for each of those documents, you've selected people who will fill a role. And so you should list the information, the details about them as well. Then I like to look at banking information. And with the banking information, I like to list the details about the accounts, who the owner is, and specifically how, if you have automated deposits or automatic like bill payment set up. When I say automatic bill payment, if your bills are automated and you don't have to do anything, then they should be listed, because that way, if anything happens to you, your loved ones will know at a glance that they don't have to do anything. So you would list that for your banking details, and then you would also list information specifically like about if you have a bank CD, if you have a debit card that's tied to the bank account, and then you would look at credit card details. And under credit cards, you would also look at any bills that are set up that are automated. Sometimes we forget that we've set bills up. Some of them aren't monthly, and so it's very easy to forget about them. I like to remind people that if they have a transponder in their vehicle, whether it's, you know, an easy pass transponder, those companies, they like to have a credit card on file so that when your balance is low, they will charge you. But it's not a monthly charge. So it's one that easily gets forgotten. But you would list any automatic payments that you have set up for any bills. That gives you an idea of the kinds of information that I like to list in the banking section. So then in the investment section, I like to break down investments into different types. You have non-retirement investments, and then you have retirement investments. And so it's looking at the important details that need to be captured for each of those. And the reason I do break them down is because the information that's important for a retirement account is different than for a non-retirement account. Retirement accounts can only be held in your name. And so while the account, you know, the name and the account number is important, the beneficiary details are really important. And you should always have more than just one. You should have more than just a primary beneficiary. You should have secondary ones too. So I like to break those out separately. And then I like to look at pensions, annuities. Annuities are actually offered by life insurance companies, which is why I like to have them broken out separately. Some people have 529 plans for children or for their grandchildren. So I like to look at those as well and list those details. And then I like to list income streams. Now, when I was paying my parents' bills, it was really valuable for me to know at a glance where money was coming in from. So if they had Social Security going into, you know, let's just say a Bank of America checking account, they had a pension that was going into a Citizens Bank checking account, and perhaps a required minimum distribution that was also going into a Citizens checking account. It was important for me, as I was paying bills to cover medical costs, to know exactly where to write checks from. So it was really just being able to see at a glance where to pay bills from. The next section is insurance. And for the insurance section, I like to break it out into three different groups. You have life insurance and long-term care. That's one group. So I list all the details specific to those. And then I would suggest looking at homeowners and car insurance. Perhaps you have an umbrella policy, but you would list those the insurance information for those, plus if you use an agent. And then lastly, I like to look at your medical insurance and list that separately. So that's really the insurance section. And then I include medical details. So there's a section for medical details, and it really looks at your doctors and why you see them. And then it looks at if you have access to an online portal, if you have any allergies, if you have any implants, and important medical information that your family should know. I think that we assume that all of our information is accessible on these online portals, but it really isn't. A number of us have access to multiple online portals, and right there, that tells you that they each have some of your medical information, but they don't have the full picture of who you are. And so I think if you have important information, medical health that should be recorded, it should be listed. So that's really the medical details. And then the last section that is, looks at services. And when I look at services, I like to look at all the bills that you pay. Now, earlier we discussed bills that are paid automatically. But not all your bills are paid automatically. As an example, perhaps someone has, their medical bill and it's set up to pay automatically. That way it's, never forgotten and never not paid. But what about payments that are not automated? Some of us have, let's say, our utilities. Our utilities may not be set up to pay automatically. Our electric, our gas or oil. Maybe we have a homeowners association. Perhaps we pay those bills by check, or perhaps we pay them using online bill pay. Now, I'd just like to mention that online bill pay is only partially automated because you actually have to log into your account, review the bill, and confirm that you want it paid. So it's not totally automated. Perhaps you have a pet and you have pet insurance and you pay the bill annually by check. Or perhaps you pay it by credit card, but you phone in and pay it by credit card. So it really, the service provider section, I like to list all the bills by category. So I have all utilities together. I have insurance payments together, bills that you pay the town. Perhaps you have an excise tax for your car that you have to pay, as well as water and sewage that you have to pay to the town, and property tax. Those are examples of bills that we pay to the town. So I keep those all together and list how each bill is paid with an account number and a phone number. And so for all the bills, I like to group them into, specific groups. And then I like to list with each one how I pay them, the account number and a contact phone number. So sometimes there usually is a section for other, because not all of your bills fit into nice categories. Where would you put your AAA roadside service membership? I put it into other. Perhaps you have a page that's just for streaming services. Nowadays, a lot of us have these streaming services. So maybe there are so many that you actually have your own page, or perhaps you consider them almost a utility, just like your cable or your, cell coverage. So there are different ways to record them, but you can list them under other, just like a gym membership, just as some examples. So anyway, in the binders that I create, I actually have worksheets. So you actually just fill in the information in the worksheets because I've set it up that way. So you just, enter the details. Now, I hope that gives you a good idea of the kinds of information that you can include in your life transition binder, in your resource. And I would also suggest that you use the back of your binder to actually add additional information. So when I create them for clients, I actually put extra tabs in the back so that if they have pre-purchased their funeral expenses and their cemetery plot, we put those details in the back under a different tab called funeral. So you can customize your binder with your details. And you can, obviously add as many tabs as you need. You can put your healthcare proxy in the back under a tab that says proxy. Just to give you an idea, you could put your property deed in the back under a tab listed as deeds. So whatever it is, but there are, ways that you can really supplement this resource with your information. So anyway, if you have not created one, I would urge you to do it. And I would tell you, don't try and do it all at once. Do it one section at a time, because otherwise it's completely overwhelming, which is why most of us start and don't complete it. If you'd like to learn more, about the resources that I have available to help you, or to talk to me about how I can work with you, again, reach out. Email me at lifelinkconsultingllc@gmail.com. Thank you.